Bluey isn't just an animated show that entertains and wins fans of all ages worldwide, but it's also a television program that touches the hearts of anyone who watches it. But is there an underlying theory in this incredible cartoon that maybe you haven't noticed yet?
Because he's so cute!
It's really tough when a friend loses admiration for you, and perhaps in Bluey's case, this has happened between her and Coco. Some fans believe that the pink poodle is developing a mix of anger and jealousy towards the protagonist because of Mackenzie, the border collie that both of them like. Of course, both puppies are still very young to deal with such heart-related issues, but surely you've noticed that Coco harbors an unrequited crush on Mackenzie. That's why in the circus episode, she asks Bluey to force the border collie to accept marrying her in the game, even if it makes no sense. When Coco realizes that Mackenzie likes Bluey more, it's likely that the two will drift apart. This might happen when they're teenagers, but that doesn't mean it'll be easy for Bluey, as everyone knows that Jean-Luc returns to Australia right at that moment. But the truth is, it seems that Bluey and Mackenzie will marry and have the puppy we see in the surprise episode, which raises the question, what about Coco? Did she accept Winton's love? You can already see that today's video is something special, right? So grab your popcorn and bring your dog to watch another Cinewave together. Still talking about Coco, there's another theory about her that's even worse than her feeling jealous of the protagonist. Have you noticed how a little mean Coco can be toward Winton? Let's start with what happens in the Stories episode of Season 3, when the bulldog asks Indy to turn him into a more muscular dog. It makes us think he really needs to feel stronger. In this episode, as he's simply playing, Coco makes a mean comment about him not behaving.
Winton, why can't you just be good?
Okay, fine, but let's look at the Wild Girls episode when she invites the girls to play her favorite game and Winton says he can be the pig and runs away from the girls. But Coco tells him that doesn't exist in the game. At the end of the episode, Coco appears like a witch, scaring Winton badly, making it clear that the bulldog is very afraid of her. Winton even tries to get closer to Coco in the typewriter episode, but we already know how the poodle reacted. She didn't want to sit next to him. In the same episode, the poor little dog cries because people keep running away from him. The wrong sister. You know in the fairy tale episode when Bandit tells about the vacation he and his brothers had in the 80s? And in the end, a princess dressed as She-Ra appeared to free him from the curse? But check out this interesting theory. What if the girl Bandit met that day wasn't really Chili, but her sister Brandy? They both look very similar, and Grandma Healer says it wasn't really her that day. Maybe it was Brandy who was dressed up, and Bandit thought in the future that it was his wife. Or even worse, maybe Papa Healer lied saying it was his wife when it was actually another girl he dated, but didn't want to tell the daughters because they wouldn't take it very well that their dad had another girlfriend. Okay, this theory is pretty funny and quite gross. Have you ever paid close attention to Bluey's opening theme? The Healer family is dancing until one by one, names are being called until Bluey's turn. But did you notice what those letters are that float in the air? Especially between Chili and Bandit, the letters that appear are actually gas clouds coming from behind them, disappearing into the air. Now look at their expressions at the beginning. They're all dancing until everyone stops except Chili. Then they point at her and Mom gets embarrassed and moves away while the gas cloud with her name disappears. The same happens for everyone. Let's be honest, they're farting during the opening. That's what the dog dance is all about, figuring out who let one go. Gross. Do you ever let one rip and blame it on someone else? Comment with #yes so we can hear your dirty little secret. Maybe Bluey thinks she's the least loved child by her parents. There's an episode that helps us understand this. It's called Kids. In this story, Bandit takes his daughters to the supermarket where a game begins. Bluey is the mom, Bingo is the youngest daughter, and Bandit is the oldest child. This order is important. In the story, Bluey treats Bingo well but is very harsh with Bandit. In other words, the way Bluey plays is how she perceives being a mother. Translation? For her, being a mother is treating children differently, one very well and the other not so well. Have you ever seen a cat in Bluey? Never, but it appeared in the mini episode Archaeology, where Bandit shows a dog holding a lifeless cat. Do you know what this means? I'll explain. In Season 1, episode Spy Game, Bandit has an important conversation with Bingo where he talks about the fact that they are dogs and everyone has their place in the group. If they don't stick together, the entire community could fall apart. Later in the episode Imitation Game, Daddy Healer mentions that a wounded bird was attacked by a cat. All these clues suggest that the cat community doesn't live very well in Australia's territory, or maybe not anywhere in the world. We only know about Bingo's favorite show, Squad of Cute Cats, which at least exists as TV stars. Once again, Bandit makes a funny comment, wondering how they even managed to get driver's licenses as if it were impossible. It seems like dogs and cats in the world of Bluey don't get along, and there might be a separation between them all. Even if there's a famous TV show with feline actors, Bandit doesn't let Bingo watch it. Do these two species also fight in the world of Bluey? It would make sense, but it would be unfortunate. You know what's better than chocolate? Subscribing to the channel and turning on the notification bell. A popular theory suggests that Bingo can't consume gluten. This is called celiac disease. In the episode where Bandit takes the puppy to school, he separates Bingo's snacks so that none of her foods have gluten. Bingo's age can't be an excuse for this, as Bluey, who's a bit older, can eat such products without any problems. Plus, the healer couple is very careful about Bluey's diet too, as neither of them can eat sugary ketchup. In the episode where Bingo is hospitalized, there's a clue that she might have a lifelong condition she has to face because of the play Bluey creates, one about overcoming challenges, even with fear. If you had to guess, would you say the healer family is rich, poor, or somewhere in between? In the Easter episode, we learned that their daughters didn't receive any Easter eggs last year, which doesn't make sense because Bandit and Chili would never do something like that. We can only assume something must have stopped it, maybe a financial problem, right? Wrong. Australian fans have explained to the world that in fact the healer family is much wealthier than we imagined. I'll explain. The story takes place in Brisbane, Australia, and according to the city map, the healer family's house is located in a neighborhood called Paddington. When this information leaked online, fans realized that in real life, houses in this area cost more than $1 million. We know it's the family's property because in the end of season 3, Bandit wanted to sell it. So we know they don't live in rented housing. Bandit and Chili literally live in a fancy neighborhood where houses are expensive, just like their neighbors. Now this explains the many toys Bluey and Bingo have, but the question remains, why didn't they buy Easter eggs?
Thank you.
Speaking of money, have you noticed that Chloe the Dalmatian's house is actually a mansion, or almost? If you have any doubts, let's take a closer look. When you analyze the entrance, you'll see super modern architecture with large windows and a double door at the front. Another cool thing is that inside the house, part of the wall is actually a large aquarium with several fish. And inside Chloe's dad's office, there's a big window showing a backyard filled with tall plants for the Dalmatian family. When you watch the episode Octopus and pay close attention to Chloe's friend's residence, it makes you want to live there. Honestly, Bluey and her friends are definitely well off. Do you remember the first season episode where Chili creates the game to keep the balloon in the air? In this episode, the pups do everything to keep the fun from ending without letting the toy fall to the ground. But Bandit decides to stop Chili from saving the game. The result is that the family's last balloon bursts on the grass, and Bandit says it wasn't out of malice that he did it. But what if it was on purpose? The theory suggests that since this was the last balloon in the house, Bandit figured out a way to get rid of it to teach a lesson. As you know, Bluey and Bingo always learn something from the colorful balloons, like when Bluey lets hers slip away. If the red balloon was the last one, then it could be said that all the others exploded from some playful mishap, and Bandit taught them with the game of keeping it in the air that no matter how much you run and try, things have an end. One of the most interesting couples in Bluey is definitely Uncle Radley and Frisky, and everyone knows that the two got to know each other better in the episode Double Babysitter. But something seems off, right? Think about it. That night, Uncle Radley arrives to babysit the nieces, and shortly after, Frisky arrives as well. Then Chili apologizes to Bluey's godmother, saying she only sent the message at the last minute. But the theory is that, in reality, all of that was staged for the two to meet. Chili knew full well that Frisky had broken up with Bosco and that she was in need of meeting new people. Of course, Chili also knew that Radley was coming to babysit the nieces as he works on an oil platform and doesn't have much free time, so the schedules of both had to be perfectly synchronized. It wasn't fate that brought this meeting together, it was Chili. But you know what your destiny is? To stay with us. That's why we've chosen 2 more pieces of content for you to enjoy. See you in the next video. Until then.